Good morning. Welcome to another Sunday morning sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and this morning I'm gonna continue the drawing from last time, which getting there, Huss. There we go. Which was with Doofensmirtz, and I think I'm gonna add Drakken to that. Yes. My wife is giggling. At the moment, I'm just gonna doodle. I don't know how quick I'm gonna be this morning. Okay. Alrighty. It's going to get sloppy here for a little bit. I need to kind of figure out how Drakken's face is going to be situated and structured. He's pretty abstract too, so Wow, as it turns out, he's actually more difficult than I thought he'd be. Alright, give me a minute here. Hey, sweetie. Hey, sweetie. Would it be funny if we switched the sidekicks of Drakken and Doofenshmirtz? I mean, would Drakken do well with Norm? I know Shigo would probably kill Doofenshmirtz.
He'd be dead within like a minute.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and I'm sitting there going like, the dynamics are totally different. But I'm wondering because you end up, you're talking them one group fighting Perry and the other group clearly fighting Kim Possible. And would the dynamic seriously change if the? I mean, in one case, the team would self-destruct. I mean, Shigo would kill Doofenshmirtz, and then probably just leave. Whereas Norm would just really almost give Drakken everything he wanted while being snarky the whole time. I'm not sure if it's a good idea or not. I'm sitting there, I was like doodling going like, what if their sidekicks were switched? I was like, I mean, switching their villains would be, I mean, Doofenshmirtz would die in any circumstance. I mean, if he had Kim Possible, she would accidentally kill him. Actually, he'd probably end up killing himself while wetting himself running. Drakken, on the other hand, is actually kind of a measurably more dangerous villain. You know?
Yeah, she will.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's an interesting question because I have a feeling that it would just not work. But if it did, it would be really funny.
Think about that.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of that one either. It's along the same problem of going into almost any anime and saying, "Can we switch the villains and these heroes around?" and blah blah blah, and you end up getting like, it's like, well, it depends on the series, and even though they're both really silly series, I don't know. There's just something funny to me about it, but I can't quite wrap my head around if it would actually work or not.
Well, like I said, I'm pretty sure she would probably humor Doofenshmirtz for probably a little bit before offing him.
Oh yeah, she just like dump him into a tub full of acid and leave no remains. I mean, he'd be gone.
Take him to the tri-state area.
I don't even think she'd be interested in the tri-state area, to be honest.
I think she'd do it just because he was doing it and was failing. I think she would do it just for the sake of, okay, let's see what's the challenge. Oh, it wasn't a challenge. He wasn't. He's an idiot after all. And then she would probably leave.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I just, there we go. Yeah, I was just looking at that going like, because of the two, as great as Shigo is, because she was so snarky and funny, I infinitely find Norm more hilarious because yeah, I don't know. It's
I think Drakken would probably get a lot more done because he wouldn't be. I don't know if he'd get a lot more done. I think he would get things and then they still would blow up. But because the fact that he was getting everything
actually done.
Yeah, but stuff would still be going up because he wouldn't be going up against a person constantly yelling at him of how incompetent he is.
Yeah. It didn't just square out. I don't know. I'm fairly certain Kim Possible would just wipe Doofenshmirtz out. I just don't know if. I think they'd get so thrown off by Perry. Would she go? I would think that Perry might be able to take on Shigo, but I'm not sure if they're at the same. I mean, but he's used to fighting a complete incompetent. That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm.
He has fought bigger and badder threats than her before.
Yeah, but in a funnier universe where things aren't literally trying to off him. I'm fairly certain Shigo has murdered people. Even though they've never come out and said it, I'm like,
And then as far as Doofensmirtz, he wouldn't fight back because he already was going up against a teenage girl and he didn't punch her.
Turns out just his daughter shows up and just takes on Kim Possible instead.
Yeah.
And she's not even all that evil. I think that there would just be some...
No, she's not, because she's constantly trying to bust him to her mom. No, she's not evil. She's
you're right. It would be a busting thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think more than anything, she would probably try and protect her dad.
Yeah, you're right.
That would be the more of a Vanessa versus Kim Possible fight. Because when Perry and Candace switched bodies, remember, he wouldn't fight Candace because she was a teenage girl.
This is true. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
And Kim Possible was, at the beginning of the show, she was 16, 17. And then at the end of the series, she graduated. It came to life. She came to life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's thick storm, all right.
That's beautiful.
It's so funny. Some people saw that image. Was it Marcus Williams that he did of thick big black mama Storm, and I saw that. I'm like, some people are complaining because she's not thin and sexy, blah blah blah. But I'm going like, yeah, but the idea was really cool. Like, and some guys thought it was sexy, and some guys didn't. That's irrelevant. I'm looking at I'm just imagining, you don't need to be a thin, wafy thing to control the weather. I'm just imagining this big, because she was kind of almost Ursula size, just floating in the air, just flinging lightning and windstorms and stuff. I'm going like, actually, that's kind of cool.
To me, it makes more sense because she's more Earth goddess that way.
Yeah, exactly. She's sort of a tribal Earth goddess sort of thing going on, and
which is what Storm was at one time. She was worshipped as an African Earth or African weather goddess and stuff during certain times of her life when she was like after she was I think after she escaped from Cairo, she was an orphan in Cairo for a bit. Yeah, and some African tribe actually started worshiping her as a goddess.
nice. Was that the Mohawk period?
No, the Mohawk period was when she was with the X-Men team. That was the original X-Men team with Jean Grey and Scott and Iceman and Beast. Oh, she's so cute.
Yeah, she is. Let it be said that some girls can pull off the big cute bow in the hair. And it's usually the ones that aren't trying. It's the ones that are like trying to be cute. You're like, stop, just stop doing that. That doesn't work. But the ones that are just like, hey, I'm gonna stick it in my hair and have fun. Usually those are the ones that actually end up, being adorable.
But then the lady dressed as Starfire, and there's a guy trying not to look. We have pictures of Dragon Con happening this week.
Well, I figured it was some con because there were, people conning.
People in costumes.
Okay, this was concerning me at the beginning. Is Drakken's got actually a very well structured face, but super abstract. I was having a hard time, but now I think I'm getting it to actually kind of work now. I'm also fairly certain he's like a foot taller than Doofenshmirtz and he's got like 60 pounds on him, but
because remember...
Yeah, but Doofensmirtz is just tiny and, like, I think he's got, like...
Oh, no,
really?
Not. No, remember, once again, one episode when he was dating the woman, he's like, I'm 6 feet tall, I just slouch.
Wow. Is it just that it looks like he's got, like... I don't know, like he doesn't eat properly? Because he's so...
It's that whole he slouches and crouches over, like he said, like my mantis-like form.
My mantis-like form, yes.
He just slouches a lot. He stands up tall. He's actually a pretty tall, lanky dude. He's just lanky.
Okay, well...
He's probably like 160 pounds.
And it's probably Drakken's, like, kind of puffed up outfit that's probably doing it. But they just read as... But you're right, that they somehow just read as two different sizes, but you're right, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I actually think Doof is probably taller than Drakken. The Drakken probably is a bit more...
He stands up straight all the time.
That and he's a bit more form-filled because, and this is going to sound weird, the various times they've shown the characters in either their underwear or in swimsuits, Doofenshmirtz is actually scrawny, and Drakken actually has a body. He actually is formed.
Oh, I was looking up Drakken this morning for resources, and there's a handful of them that I'm like, wow, I am not going to be able to do this interpretation kind of a thing. There's one really neat one, but there was some of them like this. And the thing is, they actually illustrated everything just fine. Mm-hmm. It is the fact that they did like a Bishonen Drakken, and he's like 19 and Japanese thin, and you know that like thin Japanese pretty boy kind of look, and he had like the little dainty scar, and I was going like, no, it's fine. I actually think it's interesting somebody tried this, but I looked at it, and it didn't read as an interpretation of Drakken. It read as an emo pretty boy cosplaying as Drakken, which actually is a pretty good, and I think that's by itself is pretty good. But I was like, huh. Like I didn't laugh at it. I was just like, huh.
That falls into one of my, and it's a personal thing. I don't. If people do this, that's their thing.
Yeah,
it's all good. But it falls into one of my personal artistic pet peeves of putting characters back in high school.
I'm not entirely against it, because I can imagine sometimes you can maybe get an interesting, like somebody was trying to interpret the actual like character's backstory, and that's fine. To me, it's when they do that and they're like, look how fashionable and pretty they are, and that's the only reason why they're doing it. I'm like, it's actually why I wanted to get out of high school, was because of that kind of mentality.
I really don't care for it because this is mainly in the fanfic community, and then the fanfic community then transfers out into the art community when this happens. And this is why it bugs me is when they do this, it's because you have kids who are in high school writing about the high school experience, but putting the characters in high school so they can self-insert themselves.
Oh yeah, that stuff doesn't work for me.
Like, well, I'm writing about how these kids, like characters who wouldn't even be in an American high school or suddenly in an American high school, and it's just like, oh, well, I guess like once again, it's like it's my own personal thing, but it's like people who, when they say write about stuff, they write about things you know. Like it's like, go right ahead, but it's like when you see the obvious high school tropes, like the first thing I see, like in the high school universe, nope. I'm backing out of this one. I think there's probably only been one storyline that I've read where people when they put their characters in high school where I actually enjoyed it. Other than that, I'm just like, I've already lived through that. I don't want to read about it anymore.
Well, I see that the school stuff is one of those universal storylines. Like for example, there's a reason why war stories are still around, is because there's always a war. You know, there's always, whether you're in it or you're hearing about it or you know people in it, there's a war. With high school, most people have been through some kind of formal education, even though you go to another country and the details are different, the concept is still there. So it's a common shared something. It's not like somebody goes like, let's do a martial arts school thing. It's like, well, not everybody has been in a martial arts school, so that doesn't quite work. Or let's, I don't know, pick anything that's like maybe 10 to 20% of the populace goes through, but everybody else really doesn't know. Horseback riding. Okay, equestrians. Okay. Into horses, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've known people who have been into horses. We used to, when I was a kid, we used to live next to a horse farm-ish kind of thing. They owned horses, at least. I don't think it was a horse farm. But they owned horses, blah, blah, blah. But when it's like high school or elementary school, that's the reason why I like Phineas and Ferb, for example. Everybody's like, oh, well, most people in America have gone to public school and have been on summer vacation, so it works. So it's like, I get it when people go like, it's like one of the things that I'm working on, it's kids in school, and it's I think it works. To me, it's when it's forced. It's like that's the only thing that the person does. It's like they just kind of keep, let's make them all, like you said, they're like throwing themselves into stuff. It's like, this is how I would have fixed my high school,
That's pretty much it. It's like I said,
kind of like,
for me, it's one of the things I don't like. For people who are writing about it, it's a form of escapism. It's something that they
which is fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. It's just my own personal pet peeve. It's like the amount of, and once again, I'm a huge fan of fan fiction now, but going through like the amount of Avatar: The Last Airbender in high school stories.
Oh, who cares? That's why Avatar was great, is it wasn't that stuff.
They had teenage tropes in there, or young adult tropes and all that. But in the midst of the war and running for their lives and trying to stop an impending, basically world-ending situation.
I mean, I get it. I get why somebody would do that. Like I saw one somebody did, not fanfic, just image, where they did what the characters would look like in an American high school right now. And I was like, oh, okay. Actually, aren't some of them like junior high? But anyways, so I was like, oh, okay, so that's kind of neat. I mean, it's an interpretation of what the kids would look like, fashion-wise, blah, blah, blah. And some of it was a little stereotypical, and some of it was actually a pretty interesting interpretation. But at the end of it, I just end up going like, I don't. I'm not for or against it. I just kind of want to see people stretch more. It's like, is that the whole existence is high school? It's like I have a series I'm writing right now that has basically junior high school kids in sort of a public education sort of setup, sort of a dystopian one. But at the end of it, it's not about high school kids. It's not about like. I mean, if you really read it, there's whole parts where you're like, this is nothing like high school. This isn't about pop music. This isn't about boys. This isn't about, and sometimes when I see that stuff, it's really interesting. And sometimes when I see that stuff, it's just really, really, really kind of like stereotypical in a way that I'm like, it's like I've watched a lot of anime in my life, but I don't watch the stuff anymore that's that same thing over and over again. It's like, yeah, I got it. You're transforming into something. Yeah, I got it. It's so embarrassing that blah, blah, blah. As I got it. I've seen this before. It's the ones where they go and they do something that I haven't, where I'm like, oh, right on. Like I laughed my butt off at Prison School, and it's a high school series, but it's a high school series where a bunch of girls are torturing guys in a prison in a high school. And it's a prison series as they're trying to escape. And it's technically... yeah, exactly. That's why it was so funny. The whole thing was so inappropriate and so over the top. And I'm like, yes, but why would I watch a series about kids in high school? I mean, it's like, I just end up, my skin always ends up going like, oh, God, again, really? I mean, it's a fine setting, but if that's all that it's about, I'm like, oh, really?
Pretty much. Like it, and it's catering to the audience that is being made for. So
which is fine. It just doesn't float my boat, I don't even think it floated my boat back when I was the appropriate age for that sort of thing. There was just I don't know, I guess I always like more than one layer to my cake, I guess.
Well, I'm sure there's lots of layers to a lot of people's cakes. Just that's their cake, and I don't have to take a piece of it.
Yeah.
Just like they don't have to take a piece of mine.
Oh, and that's fine. It's just I'm not. I don't want to be judging it. I just sometimes I see that stuff. I go like, wow, I don't have much to say about it. It's like, oh, it's neat. Kind of like, oh, I've already. I guess it's the fact that I wanted to get out of public education as fast as possible because it was basically living hell. Yeah. I hear you. And so for people to write about it in a fashion that's like, yay, wasn't this great? Just always never sit. Not that I'm against it. It just never personally sits right. So I end up going like, oh.
Which also maybe, why, like I said, why they're writing about it, because maybe theirs isn't so great and they're writing more of a better utopia version of it, and it's something that's helping them deal with that.
Or maybe they want to go back like it was the greatest thing in their life ever, and now they want some more of it. That's not bad. I always felt bad for people who peaked in high school. That's a fate that's kind of, I don't want to say worse than death, but it's like, man, you spend such a small amount of your life there, and if that's where you peaked, I'm like, wow, that is dark. Like,
well, that's some people's, that's their things. Like if they, I think it's getting better, and for that aspect, because there are a lot more choices for people to do with their lives nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot better things that people can focus on, but it's just the fact of whether or not they want to be better. I mean, before, way back in like when we were growing up, you got out of high school and either you went to work in a factory or you went to college, hopefully enough to find a job where you can make enough money, or you go work corporate, or you go play sports or something. So, I mean, yeah.
It's not bad. Oh, it's not bad. Well, it's not perfect, but it's not bad.
He's almost Joker-esque.
Yeah.
It's real pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's not quite right, though. But no, it's a shot I've never drawn him before. So actually, I've never drawn either of these guys before.
You'd add his ponytail.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot the evil. Is it a ponytail or has he got a evil mullet?
He has a ponytail that when he lets it go. Remember the Motor Ed episode?
Oh,
his cousin?
Right.
Dude, you got a little mullet going, got a baby mullet going on back there. Let it fly, dude. Let it fly, bro. Seriously.
Oh, I forgot about that, dude.
Love Motor Ed. Yeah.
Right on.
Seriously.
All right, well, I think that's good enough for now. Gonna have yourself a good week. I am gonna do a Mr. Rogers bit here and put everything back to where it's supposed to be. Put that in there. Ooh, slide in the microphone, make it look all nice. Oh, wait. Coffee. All right.
And to close it out, a quote from Dr. Seuss, thanks to Jim for this quote. I like nonsense. It wakes up the brain cells. Fantasy is a necessary ingredient in living.
Oh, yeah. Seriously.
Theodore Seuss Geisel, a.k.a. Dr. Seuss.
Woohoo! All right. Well, everyone have yourself a good week. I'll catch you guys next week. And, bye. Bye-bye. Catch you later.